The business community of Bangladesh on Saturday said that the interim government has failed to tackle the country's law and order situation. Business leaders expressed their concerns at a business conference organized by the Dhaka Chamber of Commerce and Industry. They said it will be difficult to maintain the economy if the situation does not improve. Managing Director of the Barak Bank said, though the government is trying to rebuild the institutions which were destroyed over the years, but the government has failed to handle the law and order situation. While Incepta Pharmaceuticals Chairman Abdul Muqtadir Rahman said that the law and order situation has declined sharply and the government must fix a timeline to fix the situation. Followers of the International Society of Krishna Consciousness or ISKCON worldwide organized special prayers on Sunday for the safety and security of all religious minorities in Bangladesh. ISKCON made the appeal in response to the widespread protests in Bangladesh following the arrest of Chinmoy Krishnadas in a sedition case. This comes as a spate of attacks on the Hindus and other minorities in Bangladesh in recent months, which included vandalization of temples and idols of deities. Last night, a prominent woman journalist named Munni Saha was arrested by the police from Karwan Bazar in Dhaka city of Bangladesh. She was later released on payment of a bond under Section 497 of the Code of Criminal Procedure. However, Saha will have to seek bail from a court and adhere to police summons. A prayer meeting was organized at the Gupt Balram Dham temple of Jaipur in Rajasthan to protect against the ill treatment of followers of Sanatan Dharma in Bangladesh. A San Kirtan Yatra was also organized. On this occasion, Vice President of the Gupt Balram Dham temple demanded protection, security and the right to live in peace for the Hindus living in Bangladesh.
कुछ समय से बांग्लादेश में अल्पसंख्यक हिंदुओं के साथ जो हुआ है, तो हमारी बांग्लादेश सरकार से अनुरोध है हमारे सब भक्तों को कि उनको सुरक्षा प्रदान करें व उनके परिवार वालों को भी सुरक्षा प्रदान करें, और जो हिंदू धर्म का जो अनुसरण कर रहे हैं उनको भी स्वेच्छा से अपने हिंदू धर्म का अनुसरण करने की उनको भी स्वतंत्रता व सुरक्षा प्रदान करें।
यहाँ से हम लोग ये यात्रा आज मंदिर के मुख्य द्वार से होते हुए अक्षयपात सर्किल से होते हुए इसको हम लोग हरे कृष्ण बलराम मार्ग से और हरे कृष्ण मार्ग पर यहाँ पर इसको आयोजित किया गया है। और ये निवेदन किया गया है कि बांग्लादेश में हिंदुओं की रक्षा हो, सुरक्षा हो, को उनको शांति से और स्वतंत्रता से रहने का अधिकार दिया जाए, ताकि आज पूरे विश्व की जितने भी सरकार हैं उनसे मैं निवेदन करूंगा कि, और विशेष रूप से भारत सरकार का, क्योंकि भारतीय वासी होने के नाते हम लोग कहेंगे कि हिंदुओं की रक्षा करने के लिए विशेष यहाँ पर आवेदन करें, विशेष व्यवस्थाएं करें, ताकि वो वहाँ पर शांतिपूर्वक अपने धर्म का पालन कर सके और अपना जीवन बिता सके।
And to talk more about that, I'm joined by Pinakranjan Chakrabarti. He's a former Indian High Commissioner to Bangladesh and he retired as Secretary in the Ministry of External Affairs. Thank you, Ambassador Chakrabarti, for being on the show. How should we see the statement coming out of the business community of Bangladesh saying if the government does not put a lid on the atrocities on minorities in Bangladesh, it could directly affect the economy?
Well, they are only articulating what has been their concern for some time. These mobs that have been going around attacking various people, institutions, etc., have also attacked some factories and burnt them down, including the ready-made garment factories, which constitutes about 80% of Bangladesh's exports. Hence, they are naturally worried because and much of these mobs are led by the Islamists, and the BNP cadres are there to exploit and to extort. I know, and I have received information that the BNP cadres are going around asking the Hindu business and other leaders that if you want to stay alive, please pay me so much per month. This is what is happening. I mean, it's this complete lawlessness thing. And the joint force of the army and the police are unable to actually deal with it, or are even, I would even say that they are cahoots with the students and these Islamist groups who are around doing all this.
Then,
So this
Ambassador, why is
Ambassador,
Ambassador? Then the question that why is Muhammad Yunus making these kind of statements, saying, "Please do not exaggerate small incidents"? Why is he trying to play it down?
he has no choice because he has lost control, I think.
Okay.
And his policies, I mean, whatever he is, I mean, he's very well known, and one does not expect him to support these kind of violence. But I don't think he is in control. And
Who is then? Who is
well,
then?
these student leaders who now are who think now that they are supermen because they managed to evict Hasina from power. Of course, one need not. One has to say that there are foreign forces which backed them, helped them, funded them to do all this. But they have joined hands with the Islamic groups and organizations
Okay.
who now feel that they can do whatever they like. And they have pressurized the Yunus government or the interim government to release a very, very large number of these Islamist, adherents who were all convicted and put in jail for terrorism. Now they have been released, and some of them are connected with ISIS, Al Qaeda, and this is all very well known. I mean, it is covered in the newspapers. And these guys, and they've all joined hands together to basically, commit violence against various groups, make money, and go around looting. And the government is seems incapable of stopping them.
Okay, but doesn't Khalida Zia or her party, the BNP, realize, because now with Sheikh Hasina out, the Awami League is virtually, out of the political scene, so it seems as of now, and the BNP may come to power if and when the elections are held. But doesn't the BNP and Khalida Zia realize that these elements targeting the minorities right now are going to become a big headache for her own government? So why is the BNP then in cahoots with them?
No, BNP, I don't think it is correct to assume that they are in cahoots with them.
Okay.
As far as I know, the BNP wants an early election because they see this as a wonderful opportunity to come back to power. And I think the Yunus government is laying the groundwork for that. Because the way the Awami League has been pushed out and harassed and almost decimated, which means that the Awami League, even if they fight the election, does not have much of a chance to come back to power.
Right.
So the BNP has the best chance. They will join hands with the Islamists as they did last time. And there is another news that has come out that all those who were convicted in the grenade attack on Hasina and Awami League, mainly the BNP leadership, including Tariq Rahman, who is in exile in London, and who will probably hope to become the Prime Minister in the BNP government, they have now been acquitted because the judiciary has been now packed with their own people. As you know, the Supreme Court judges were all made to resign at gunpoint, and other judges were appointed who are obviously, known to this group which is governing.
Yeah. So therefore, my question, Ambassador Chakrabarti, when it is a foregone conclusion, or so it seems, or it's more likely that the BNP will sweep the polls with the Awami League virtually being out, why isn't the BNP realizing these elements will then be a threat to their government, because the situation cannot remain so. Lawlessness cannot prevail on the streets of Dhaka, Chittagong, or other cities in the country.
I think the BNP is unable to control its cadres on the ground.
Oh, okay.
And those cadres have joined hands with the Islamist groups because they feel this is their best opportunity. After 15 years, they haven't got an opportunity to make money, go around looting, intimidate people, etc., etc. And they have been intimidating and extorting money from businessmen also, and they are very unhappy, as you heard some of the business people talk about the lawlessness and the lack of law and order. So I think this is what is happening at the moment, and the interim government is unable to control them, even after putting the army and the police as a joint force to deal with this situation. I don't think they are able to control it fully, and so these things continue to happen.
Okay. And then Ambassador Chakrabarti, Mohammad Yunus yesterday in an interview says there is no threat to the minorities in the country, but these incidents keep going on. One Hindu tourist was attacked in a knife attack. He was, stabbed, temples being vandalized. So why is Mohammad Yunus not accepting there is a problem and work towards rectifying that, whatever little control he has? After all, the country has a police, the country has a paramilitary force. Or are you saying they are just not listening to him?
I think he has been reduced to mouthing platitudes and basically dodging the situation by saying, oh, nothing is happening, it's all exaggerated. The very stray incidents, etc. But that's not the report that is coming from the ground. Right? So he, of course, is a global face, a Nobel laureate. Hence, he thinks that he can shield all these activities by saying that it's exaggerated or it's not that bad and things like that. But I'm afraid he's trying to put a screen that is increasingly invisible.
Okay. Ambassador, my last question to you. Why aren't the Americans or the West telling their friends currently in power in Bangladesh to put a lid on it?
Whenever regime change operations are conducted, the policymakers of the regime change don't think of the aftermath as to what's going to happen. You can see, so many countries that have suffered under regime change. I don't have to name them; they are too well known now. And so I think Bangladesh is also falling into that category because an interim government, in any case, is unconstitutional, and it's a kind of an emergency situation. So it has been cobbled together, and different people are there with different interests and different agendas. The students have their own agenda, and they are basically calling the shots, and they are being helped by the Islamists. Okay. So they have joined hands. So what you see today is basically Bangladesh's downward slide into a situation that might end up in destroying its economy finally, and end up destroying its industries. Already prices are rocketing, and things are not, the economy is not doing too well. But how long they expect that the IMF and the Americans, Chinese will bail them out with money, etc., which they will get to some extent. But if you can't stand on your own feet, if you can't energize your economy, then I don't think how far can you get loans, etc., from the rest of the world?
You can't survive on loans. So you're saying it's the old script: topple the government if it doesn't suit you, then leave them to their own devices.
Absolutely, yes. But they are trying. I'm sure behind the scenes they would be trying, but then they're not succeeding, in my view.
But the Indians should be worried because it's happening right in our neighborhood. We are on both sides of the. So what should the Indian approach be?
But so far we have taken a low-key approach, which is the right thing to do at the moment. And we have, as you know, not engaged very closely with this government, except for one meeting between our external affairs minister and their foreign advisor, who's like their foreign minister. There's been no other meeting at high level. And neither have any delegations come. And but they do sometimes talk about that we are optimistic and we will have good relations with India. After all, they can't ignore India. India is too big and the asymmetry is too large. They depend on India on many things. The trade, Bangladesh and India are the largest trading partners in the subcontinent. So there are so many things that happen between these two countries that, you can't, rhetoric and sentiment, ignoring the realities, the geopolitical and geoeconomic, both, will only lead to further distress for Bangladesh, and that is not good for us.
Okay. And so you're saying, I'm sure, publicly India is maintaining this posture that, it doesn't want to be seen as meddling into another country's affairs and using a distant approach. But I'm sure behind the scenes, there is much being talked about at the diplomatic level. But why do you think it's not working, and what needs to be fine-tuned?
Well, our High Commissioner is very active there, and he has gone around meeting everybody, including Professor Yunus and various other people, and telling them whatever we have to tell them. But why is it not working is your question. My sense is that the interim government is working at cross purposes. This is a motley group, a mixture. They don't belong to any one party. They are basically pro-BNP and pro-Islamists. There is an Islamist who is an advisor. He belongs to the Hifazatul Islam, an extreme, Islamist organization one of whose leaders has recently given an interview saying that they would like to convert Bangladesh into a Khilafat and apply Sharia law and impose jizya on the Hindus. Can you imagine in the 21st century this kind of a talk emanating from Islamist leader in Bangladesh?
Okay. Ambassador Pinak Chakrabarti, thank you very much for joining me on the show and sparing your time. Thank you.